This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited speaking with Elizabeth Rodriguez, Daphne Rubin-Vega, and Ben Snyder about Allswell in New York. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Great.
Good to see you.
Yes, you too. I had a chance to watch this film during the Tribeca Festival 2 years ago, so it's nice to be able to revisit now. And I'm curious what the journey from screening there, winning a prize, has been to get to this point, the theatrical release.
Ben, you want to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah, it took a little while and it was about finding the right partners, and now we've found them and we're excited to share the movie with the world.
Great. Um, Elizabeth and Daphne, can you tell me what appealed to you about these roles?
That we co-created them and we wrote them, and they were based on um for me, I'm always excited to work with people that not only do I respect their work, if you get to work with people that you trust, and on top of that, people that you love, that's heaven for me. And when Ben and I talked about, ultimately got to a place of an idea and talked about who we wanted to do it with, I gave a very short list of who I wanted to work with in terms of playing my sisters. And just the idea itself left me just so full. And then we went and gathered stories, personal ones, and of people that we also knew their stories. And so it was a complete organic creation, co-creation.
Yeah.
So
A dream come true is such a corny thing to say, but it's corny because cliches are such because they're true. Um, that we've known each other so long that the idea of actually being cast in a story that's about us, for us, by us, was um, was a dream. In the '90s, in the early 2000s. It's taken a minute to be able to tell those stories and to get them up there and to get the momentum. Uh, and it's like no one's going to do this for you, so you got to do this yourself. And these guys did it, and I helped. It's really amazing.
I've
I
never
feel like
worked with Daphne. I've never worked with Daphne.
I know, it's crazy. We've known
And
each other like
forever
almost
and
30
ever and
years.
ever and ever, I would see her and things, and like, I've seen her more than once in the same thing. That's how like I'm like I love it
Same.
so much. Um, that like, there's these things, these dreams where you're just like, I would love to work with that person. I would love to work with that person. And when they happen to be your artistic family, I'd worked with Ben before, and I was
In a wonderful film that you should definitely see.
and I was pleasantly super surprised as a first film that it wasn't overwritten, or that whatever happened in editing, it stayed really concise, and I was really impressed. It was really moving, and most first films are not that. And and so like Ben was like, "What are we doing?" Years later, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" So he was a
Ben,
catalyst.
what was the transition like for you going from that first film to this second feature?
I mean, I didn't have anything in mind, but Elizabeth and I had become friends, and we'd meet up every now and then and catch up on our lives, and but also think about what could we work on. And we like at one point we were talking about something for the theater. And then we started talking about this crazy idea for a movie that was really just years of conversations. And then we brought other people into the room to and it's like it's interesting and there was not like a political agenda, but as far as voices that are not like just underrepresented but misrepresented to be like in the driver's seat, I think of like the idea of like nothing about us without us, and kind of like the And there was not like a political agenda, but what was created, I think, is like, kind of a powerful representation.
Mhm.
Do you think
We
that is
actually, sorry, we actually started out thinking we were doing a real dramedy, and then after we like was shooting, I was like, oh, this isn't as funny as I'm like, oh, I'm numb to some of this darkness. It was amazing how we had this other vibe, and then it organically was like, oh, this is too real to have more comedy, you know? We had to push into the realness and the depth of the truth.
It was like, is there a script out there that we could work on that already exists or something to adapt? At one point, I was like pitching Elizabeth, you should perform Mambo Mouth. Um,
Right.
maybe think about that. I was looking for
Public.
something that existed that we could work on, and we thought it was better to just create something.
how do you think that the industry is doing, especially in the several years since this film premiered, in terms of inclusion and most, as you said, nothing, about us without us?
How is the industry doing? I mean, how do you? I mean, depends who you ask.
Yeah, that arc is long and wide, like far. Um, and sometimes it bends back. But you know, I think, and I'll speak for myself, looking the way I do, that I'm not a trend. I'm here every day, right? And so it's remarkable to be participating in a piece of work where I am centered, where we are centered, and we are not just in the background, like period. It's I have this thing where I go to bed and I watch these black and white show movies and teach like Alfred Hitchcock, and the lack of us and our representation speaks volumes. So I think that there is representation, but the more you learn about something, the more you realize how little you know. And I think that that's what's happening in this industry in terms of representation.
I'm always cautiously optimistic. I think Liza Colonze is winning an Emmy. Um, feels like in Hispanic Heritage Month, and our film coming out, this week. I feel like I don't ever go, ooh. And last night I was right before I went to bed, I had this moment, which I rarely have, of like, wow, this is happening right now, that I was able to be slightly out of myself and try to absorb a little of that as a moment in time. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping that with anything I'm in, that they don't see color, or all these women start off with that, opposed to what everyone can connect to in terms of relations and context and heart and and history. Um, and I think that's my hope, that that continues, where that's not the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth, you know. So I'm hopeful. We still have, a ways to go. We have to just keep doing it ourselves until it get all normalizes.
Do you get any surprising reactions to the film, either at Tribeca or since then from audiences?
I haven't seen it since Tribeca, which is,
Yeah.
I saw it so much, or pieces of it, while we were editing to the last second, and then we saw it once, and then I didn't see it since Tribeca. Have you gotten any? Well,
You
Ben
know,
has Ben has played it in other countries.
Um, I've had surprising. I mean, I so I'm surprised at how much people like it. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say. Like I saw it so many times, I'm like numb to some things. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's pretty good. I think it's good. I think it's a good film. And I've had people watch it when it was in the festival, or other people I've shared it with, that are like, this is like now one of their favorite films of all time. And they're like, and it's say like, this is the only film where I saw myself. Like I've never seen myself in a film like this. And where I sit in position to the characters, I'm not going to have that experience in the same way. And so when I hear it, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's great.
Also,
Daphne?
always interesting. Oh, please, Daphne. Yeah.
Oh, are you asking me?
Sure. Have you seen the film since Tribeca?
No, I have not. But what comes to mind is my aunt who passed away many years ago, but when she saw me on film, um, she cried because it was like seeing herself. And I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, Tia, you're so emotional, you're so silly. Um, but since her passing, the world has shifted its perspective and its behavior in such a way that I really do understand what her experience was to be seen. Like, being seen is like, oh yeah, I see you. Everyone's being seen, but she was truly seen. It was beautiful.
I'm always interested by title changes, however subtle. I know that when I saw this film, it was called Allswell, and now it has that in New York added to it. Was there a significance to that little addition?
New York is a total character in this film, as it is whenever a film is in New York. But as New Yorkers, I'm just going to say, as a New Yorker, um, you can't bring a story to life without a location. And New York is singular, it's peerless, and it's where we are from. This in any other location would not be this. And also it speaks to the power. I can go on about New York, but like you can't pretend New York. You can't pretend New York in Toronto, in LA. I'm sorry. You can't CGI New York. And yeah, anyway, I'm gonna shut up now.
Um, I think also, yeah, I mean, it is its own character in this film, and the fact that we are all born and raised in New York, our formative years is, it's in the fabric of the film, no matter what turns. And I think there was something when Ben and I came up with the name, like we were really excited. It was sort of kismet, because we went to do research about this one restaurant. I worked in restaurants forever. We didn't have a name, and the name of the restaurant was Allswell, which we ended up shooting in. But there was this idea of like the story of like Allswell, Allswell that ends well. It was a play on Shakespeare, and I think that it wasn't clear. I think for many people, it wasn't clear what Oswald meant. I think so. Now it's in context.
It's amazing what words can do. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what's next for the three of you? I assume that you've done things since this film, but what else should we look out for from all of you?
Um, I haven't done a ton of things. I did an indie film, which I don't want to talk about because if it's not good, I'm never gonna support it. It's me alone in this film, which is already tricky to be kidnapped in a space, for over an hour. And that's the biggest thing I've done, which was a lot of work and a lot of trauma, in terms of like being put in that emotional situation. So, that remains nameless until I see it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Daph? What do you got going on? What's happening with you? Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm a soccer mom. No, Only Murders. Only Murders on Hulu. Season 4.
Ben has been developing something.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Um,
fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's great to shoot it in New York. But this ain't that though. This is like, you know, one is, being with like some OG players, and this is like being with family, like real, you know. Um, and thank you for reminding me. I'm really lucky to have that. Um, it's been a rough time between pandemics and strikes and lack of just upheaval in so many ways. It would be disgusting to think that there's not a greater context. So I'm really lucky to be doing what I love with people that I really love and respect. Um,
Love you.
how are
Ben, what
you?
are you doing?
I've been working on a musical called Shoe Story. That's what I've been focused on. So
A musical what? I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's
true
called Shoe
story.
Story.
A shoe
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
like
shoe?
sneakers.
It's about shoes.
Shoe.
Yeah.
A
A
musical
shoe.
about shoes?
Sneakers in the hip hop basketball culture.
Wow.
Yes. Like the shoes
Anything
you
else you
see
can
hanging from
preview
a
about that?
telephone wire. What's up?
Anything else you can say about that? That does certainly sound very interesting.
I mean, it's set between the United States and China, and it's about what shoes came to represent um, in two parts of the world in the 70s and 80s. Um, and kind of like when you see a pair of sneakers hanging on a telephone wire, like the story behind those shoes.
Nice.
Well, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'm looking forward to everybody getting to see this film. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abe. Be
Thank you.
well.